being good enough for God is important. He says, all these things I have done. Aren't I good? And miss the point, because the next little animation is a little arrow. Do any of those commandments have anything to do with God? Do they? Who do they have to do with? You and me. So, on an earthly level, this guy is hitting a home run. He is doing so well. He is just doing great. And then Jesus hits him over the head with the next commandment. You know, he goes, all these things I've kept. But the guy's got to be thinking somewhere, dude, there's 4 more. And why didn't he ask me about those 4? Well, the first one Jesus says is the next one. He didn't say this. Jesus didn't say, you shall love the Lord your God. He didn't say that. He says, I want you to, okay, here's what you're lacking. Take everything you've got and give it to the poor. And then come follow me. You know, riches in heaven. That's what he told the guy. What did he basically ask the guy to do? Did he ask him, was there anything wrong with all the stuff he had? Is there anything wrong with having stuff? Or money? No. But, see the little word, the third from the end there, the G with the, G-O-D with the small g. What was the rich young ruler's, what was his God? His stuff, not money. Money's never used in the Bible that way. It's called mammon. I mean, you shall not serve God and mammon. You ever heard that? The word there does not mean money. It means stuff. It means acquisitions. It means titles. It means a lot of things. It means anything else but God. So the guy said, I'm doing great on this level. Sit the next 3 real quick. And it's like, Jesus didn't need to go over the next 3, carve it in, create images, or don't use the Lord's name in vain. Don't forget to keep the Sabbath, because the last one, because those 4 deal with our relationship with God. You started with the most primary one, and that was, who is your God? What is your God? What's the most important thing in your life? There's a great scene from a movie. Billy Crystal was in it. Jack Palance was in it. It was called City Slickers. Did you ever see that? Anyway, but Jack Palance went to Billy Crystal. Billy Crystal was trying to find himself in this movie. They were out on the range doing cattle things. And Jack Palance looks at Billy Crystal and he goes, this is the most important thing in life. He just holds up his finger. Billy Crystal goes, well, what's that? He goes, I don't know. But you gotta find it. You gotta find it. Because I can't tell you what that one important thing for you is. It's that one thing, and that's the most important thing. Well, Jesus, looking right through this guy, said, you're doing great on a physical level with everybody else. You look good on the outside, you got all the stuff, you got all the acquisitions, you got all the praise of mankind. Well, what might be getting between you and number 1 is that you shall remember the gods before me. And do you think the guy just went, oh boy, I can give all my stuff away? You think everybody Jesus ever talked to liked him? You think everybody Jesus ever talked to did what he said? The passage goes on and says, the guy went away sad. And the word used there is sad in English doesn't mean sad. He went away, a combination of mad, angry, and horribly depressed. Why? Because he didn't hear the answer he wanted to. God made up the rules, he didn't like it. Because up to that point, he had made up all the rules. Well, last time I was here, we talked about 613 Levitical laws. We talked about the 10 Commandments. We're going to boil it down to 2 things. When you leave here today, I'm going to give you 2 assignments. Isn't that great? And there's not even going to be a test. I can't take the test because that's God's job. But whenever you read that story, don't ever confuse it. God does not like money and stuff. But he does want you to have priorities in life. All right, so our next slide talks about a passage where some religious Jew guys, hey, that sounds really bad, doesn't it? Religious Jew guys, some religious Jewish people came to Jesus. They said, one of the teachers came and they'd heard Jesus had been saying some pretty cool things, and they'd heard him debating, and he said, notice that Jesus had given a really good answer to the guy. He says, you've given him a really good answer, all the commandments, and which are the most important. And Jesus said this. Now remember, 623 Levitical, 10 commandments. Jesus is now going to boil our walk with him, yours and mine. He's going to boil down to 2 things. Isn't that great? I love simple because I have the mentality of a house plant. Okay, so I do simple really really well because anything more confusing than my brain hurts and I have to like stop and think about it, keep the checklist and gotta make sure everybody's okay. You know, Jesus boils it down to two things. He goes, love the Lord your God with all of your heart, your soul, with all your mind, and all your strength. Okay? Love God. What's the second one? Because the second is like this. Love your neighbors, you love yourself. So, if you look at the Ten Commandments, how many sections are there in the Ten Commandments? There are 2. The top 4 deal with who? With God. The second 6 deal with each other. So he just summarized the entire Ten Commandments into 2 things. Love God. And then that person sitting next to you, love them. Put the people that you go to school with. Love them. Put up with them. The people you don't like, the neighbors, the little brothers and the sisters, love them too. But he starts with this. Go to the next slide. Let's say love God with all your heart. It's a wonderful little Hebrew word here that means just not, No, it doesn't mean your physical cardia, which is what the Greek word for heart is, cardia. It says love God with all your heart. Now, the Jews had a wonderful way of looking at the human body and how it all works together. They didn't separate it into the stupid things we in the Western culture. Love God with all your heart, which means your thoughts. Ever had a crush on somebody? I was watching a news report the other day and they were talking about love is good for the soul. And they were interviewing people about what does it feel like to be in love? Or to be severely in like. Not in lust, but in like. And they hooked these people up to brain monitors, they hooked them up to EKGs and EEGs that show heart and respiration, and all they had to do was just mention the name of the other person. Guess what happened? Bells, whistles, lights. Because it was a visceral, which means not just emotional, but physical response to even the mention of that person. They're nothing. They're nothing. My mom and dad were married for 64 years. I'm not really impressed they love each other anymore. I'm really impressed they still like each other. But, for 64 years, that's a long. You remember that 64 years, you guys, okay? I love you. And so, listen, oh, you're so beautiful, honey. You're just one girl here in this world. And that's just your head. Anyway, so, you don't never pick on pregnant people, you guys. But, when we talk about our relationship with God, do you get it? If we were to hook you guys up to an EKG, would we really say we love God? If we take it so simple and take those 613 biblical laws, those 10 commandments, and then we take the 10 that Jesus talked to the rich young ruler, and then they even took it even further, saying, I only need you to work on 2 things. Do you get a visceral response when we talk about God? Where'd you get it from that? A little self-inventory. With our feelings. Nothing. Anyway, bad 70s song. I don't ever go there. Do our feelings, do our emotions go towards God, or are we easily pulled away or drawn away with other things in the world? I know people that suffer from ADD, that is, or ADHD, which are 2 clinical definitions of attention deficit hyper disorder, attention deficit disorder. People that just can't stay on focus and we're just kind of easily drawn away. And I'm back in school right now, and I'm taking 18 units, which for you guys is taking like 7.5 periods, 8 periods of school, and I do that. And so I'm having to write a lot of term papers and a lot of other things. I have 2 midterms tomorrow and 2 on Tuesday, and I'm sitting there on my computer yesterday, and I'm typing a paper in, and it was like, a fly went by. It's like,